freedom to lead.
You have to kind of work twice as hard.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to yet another edition of The Conversation. Comes to you Monday through to Fridays via the signals of TOS TV Network, your digital first Pan-African network. I am Nkamian John.
And I am Adesu LC. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Well, as always, without much ado, we are bringing you up to speed with developments across Africa. Of course, a lot of activities happened while you slept. So it's our bid to do our best to bring you up to speed. And we start from Zimbabwe, where a Zimbabwean freelance journalist was granted bail on Wednesday after languishing for guess how long? 20 days in the country's notorious maximum prison. 20 days in the maximum prison. Can you imagine
I can't even
that?
begin to imagine what he has to go through, what he went through. That must have been very traumatizing.
Well, Hopewell Chin Ono was accused of publishing a false report on social media that a Harare woman lost her baby after a police officer enforcing lockdown rules hit the infant in the head. However, the police denies the claim. On January the 8th, when he was arrested, Chi Ono tweeted, "The police have come to arrest me. Let everyone know." Now, after the court hearing, Justice David Moses Fawoma granted him bail for 20,000 Zimbabwean dollars. That's about 55.27 US dollars. Now, Chin Ono was arrested 3 times in 6 months. Before the last arrest, he was out on bail on separate charges of inciting violence after he voiced support for an anti-government protest in July, and also on contempt of court charges for allegedly claiming corruption within the country's National Prosecution Agency.
Why do African leaders not? They have a thing for anyone who does anything that is not in support of them. Once you're not in support, or once you voice your opposition, you're in trouble.
Well, I think it's not just African leaders; it's an African problem. As far as most parts of Africa is concerned, like Nigeria, that we are currently in, we are in denial. So we have an issue dealing with the truth, facing the truth, or let me say it the way the Americans will say it, we can't handle the truth.
I think so. I think not. Anyways, we're going to look at this development in African football where 4 persons have joined in the race to succeed Ahmad Ahmad as CAF president of the Confederation of African Football. Now, the candidacies of Mauritian Hamad Yahaya and South African Patrice Motsepe for the presidency of the Confederation of African Football were validated by FIFA on Wednesday. The men joined Senegal's Augustin Senghor and Ivorian Hakouz Anoma for the vote scheduled for March 12 in Rabat. The 4 candidates will be interviewed Thursday in Cairo at the headquarters of CAF. I am pleased to announce the validation of my candidacy for the presidency of CAF and vice president of FIFA by the Control Commission of FIFA, announced Ahmed Yahaya on his Twitter account. FIFA announced Tuesday to Patrice Motsepe that he was declared eligible for the post of president of CAF and vice president of FIFA. The outgoing president, Ahmad Ahmad, was suspended for 5 years by FIFA from all soccer activities on November 23. He cannot reappear despite his appeal pending before the Court of Arbitration for Sports.
It's been an unrunning battle, football politics, especially in CAF. Ahmad Ahmad was hoping he would be able to run for a second term in office, but the tables were turned against him when FIFA found him liable, found him guilty of breaching certain codes of conduct, and that's why what earned him a 5-year ban. But of course, if he's able to get the Court of Arbitration for Sports, the CAS, to overturn that judgment, he may still be in the race. Of course, Nigeria's Amaju Pinnick has his eye on a seat in FIFA. He's managed to garner some support so far. We can only wait and see how far he goes. All right, up next is our COVID-19 update, and a whole lot is happening as far as the pandemic is concerned. Of course, the entire world is still in the second wave of the pandemic across Africa. Yesterday, we did bring you the story of the fact that President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, has accused rich nations of hoarding the vaccine. But there are other African leaders who think differently. Now, Tanzanian President John Magufuli has warned the country's health ministry against rushing into embracing the COVID-19 vaccines promoted by foreign companies and countries. Now, Magufuli cast doubt on the global surge to develop the COVID-19 vaccines, claiming that little has been done to help cure other diseases like tuberculosis, HIV/AIDS, malaria, amongst other infections. He was quoted as saying, and I quote, "You should stand firm. Vaccinations are dangerous. If the white man was able to come up with vaccinations, he should have found a vaccination for AIDS by now. He would have found a vaccination of tuberculosis by now. He would have found a vaccination for malaria by now. He would have found a vaccination for cancer by now," he said. He also said, and I quote, "The health ministry must know that not every vaccination is meaningful to our nation. Tanzanians must be mindful so that we are not used for trials of some doubtful vaccinations which can have serious repercussions on our health," he added. Little is known in Tanzania on the number of positive cases due to the government's stern position on the virus.
That is quite interesting. I mean, he did raise some valid points, though.
I agree with you, and that is why I share the position of those who have said, let us look internally.
Yes.
Africa is blessed with all kinds of herbs, from West Africa all the way to Southern Africa, from North Africa to East Africa. You need to try the tea in Morocco, for instance.
You had it.
It's medicinal. It has herbal condiments. I've taken it. You know, so all across Africa, it's just for Africa to be able to pool its resources together, bring its best minds, and be able to do proper research. And I do not see any reason why we cannot find lasting organic solutions to some of these ailments that are plaguing Africans and the world. And that would be a mega money spinner for Africa. Just imagine if Africa could come out with a vaccine that really cures COVID-19, or a herbal solution that takes care of COVID-19. Africa will now become the reference point, just like it has been for the likes of India, some parts of Europe, that African leaders have always traveled to get the best of healthcare. So you would see the tables will turn, and then Africa will once again shine in the area of medicine, and not just medicine, but organic medicine. So it's something worthwhile. I share the sentiments of President John Magufuli of Tanzania, which is the same sentiments his Madagascan counterpart is saying. Look, we don't want your vaccines. We'll stick with our herbal solution. And so far, we've not heard of any after effects, critical cases as a result of Madagascar's herbal solution. So is it possible that it just might work if we we consolidate efforts at finding a workable, result-oriented solution?
How for Africans by Africans.
Exactly. All right, up next is our COVID-19 update. All right, COVID-19 update there. Over 3 million, almost 3.6 million people infected or have been said to be asymptomatic as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And the number of deaths, not, we wish it was
like back down.
Yeah, much lower. But I must give credit to governments across Africa for trying to enforce the COVID-19 protocols. And at this point, I can only appeal to my African brothers and sisters and ask that and solicit that we adhere strictly
exactly.
to the COVID-19 protocols.
Yes, exactly.
All right, we'll take a quick breather, and when we come back, Adeswa will take up, will be the first leg. Let me use an athletic term. She'll be on the first leg of taking us through what the newspapers are looking like this morning on The Conversation. Do stay with us.
Available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live. Watch out for the latest update on sport and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV Network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV News from Africa by Africans.
Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform to the masses to discuss issues that matter to them.
Some of them, if they bring budget, and the budget they look. Some of them sleep. They're going to ask how much you are on. I have it.
Thereby shaping government policies and laws. My name is Osasu Igbenegbu, and I am the People's Journalist.
Welcome back. It's still The Conversation here on TOS TV Network, and we're just about to go into, the national dailies, the front page of the newspapers this morning, starting with the Daily Telegraph all the way from the United Kingdom. the EU demands British vaccines, and I think that's still on the COVID-19 pandemic ravaging the world right now. And then still on health, Alistair Heath, COVID marks end of liberal order. That is from Alistair Heath. And then still on the COVID-19, schools to remain closed until March under 3-step plan. That is still on the Daily Telegraph this morning. And then we have quite a number of, interesting stories here on the front page. This one is about relationships, the curious rise of the performance divorce. This one says Michael Deakin has locked down 3 driven Liz Loppy. And then this one is on family life, says the 25-minute parenting trick. Now, if you're interested in any of this, or whatever is happening in the UK, say you're in the UK and you want to know what's happening, get yourself a copy of the Daily Telegraph.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
you decided to be British this morning. Decided to be British. Well, while she's British, I'm Nigerian, so I'm bringing you back home to the Punch newspapers.
Okay.
Very interesting. The Punch looking very colorful
As
this
always,
morning, and very inviting. Gaping headline right there on the Punch. But let's start with the top right, where you have the picture of Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, and it says it's been difficult keeping our promises, says President Buhari. It's been, I don't think it's ever been easy keeping any promise, no matter how small the promise is. So, Mr. President, welcome to the club of difficult promises. All right, and right in the middle there, following that headline, we can't force Nigerians to take COVID-19 vaccine. That is attributed to the Sultan of Sokoto. And interesting one with the picture of a Nobel laureate, Wole Soyinka. It says, group backs Soyinka as Nobel laureate, says Buhari further dividing Nigerians. That is attributed to the Nobel laureate, Wole Soyinka. Now let's go to the main headline. As you can see, in black, very conspicuous. Buhari goes against judgment, bypasses National Assembly. That is in terms of the appointment of service chief. There is a procedure that the president ought to follow in the appointment of service chiefs. Don't forget, just a few days ago, the former service chiefs tendered their resignation, and new service chiefs were announced almost immediately. And under that headline, there are 3 riders say they need confirmation, says Keyamo. Second rider, appointment not substantive, says Falana. Of course, Femi Falana, well-known activist and lawyer, and of course, father of popular musician Falz. Okay, then the 4th rider, they can't get salaries. New post illegal without Senate confirmation, says the senior advocates of Nigeria. Their responsibility to ensure that the rule of law is respected. And the final rider, president not compelled to get National Assembly confirmation, declares presidency sought. Why am I not surprised? Typical reaction as far as the presidency is concerned, especially under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari. And there you can see pictures of President Muhammadu Buhari with the Oni of Ife, who paid the president a courtesy visit. And in that, underneath those beautiful pictures, you can see the headline, Oni, Makinde Akeredolu meet Buhari, Oyo demands more Mopol units. That is on the Punch. So if you are interested in getting the juicy details of those stories, you should get yourself a copy of the Punch this morning. FG evacuates 802 Nigerians from Saudi Thursday, Friday. FG evacuates 802 Nigerians from Saudi. And I was adopted in church, sold to Fulani kidnappers. NIS spokesman. Wow.
I'm shocked.
Adopted in church and sold. And finally, DSS tears up with teams up, I beg your pardon, with police, probes Osun cops killing by operatives. So interesting. I did tell you at this before going into the Punch that you should get yourself a copy of the Punch. Looking very colorful, very incisive. Depends on what story tickles your fancy this morning. Yeah.
I'm coming back to Nigeria from the UK.
Back. Welcome back.
I'm going to go over to the Nation newspaper this morning, and I'm going to start with the not very obvious headlines, the COVID-19 situation, just towards the left side under the Nation newspaper. It says lockdown still likely, says PTF, and then Urtum 9 AIDS test positive. That's the COVID-19. Gombe records 42 deaths, and that's quite sad. Osun loses 5 people in 24 hours. Uni Lauren OK pineapple skin core for virus management, and MTN leaves Africa with $25 million for 7 million vaccine doses. That is on COVID-19 situation in Nigeria as of today. And then on the right side of that, Makinde asks president for more riot policemen. And the rider under that says, President meets with Oyo, Ondo governors and Oni. And this is about the insecurity issue in the southwest region of Nigeria. And then still on the issue of security, the very obvious headline on the Nation newspaper this morning says, Nigeria in a state of emergency, says President Muhammadu Buhari. And then under that, President meets with service chiefs. Military bosses resume tomorrow without Senate nod. And that's still on saying he didn't get the Senate approval before actually appointing them. And now to the headlines on the top of the Nation newspaper. This one is coming from Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. It says, My home ownership plans by Sanwo-Olu. Governor opens project. Then internet scam, experts analyze Naira Marley's phone. If you have been following up on the Naira Marley, the issue, I think it was last year when he was arrested for, say he was part of a internet fraud syndicate. I like to put it that way. And then so it has been going back and forth with the EFCC, and now they say they have no evidence to show that, to indict him. And I'm still following up on that. And then the last one says, EFCC recovers 75 million naira from ex-minister's wife. Non-use of face mask, now criminal offense. So if you're Nigerian and you don't wear your face mask, it's a criminal offense and you might be charged for that. For further stories, if you want to learn more, get yourself a copy of the Nation newspaper this morning.
All right, and I jump on the Guardian this morning. Guardian looking very serious, very straight. I start with the top of the Guardian newspaper, the editorial. I've been reading a bit of this editorial. This is the 14th piece so far. That's just to tell you how often these editorials have been coming. Federalism is the answer after all. So if you're interested in the subject of federalism or restructuring, as most Nigerians choose to put it, then you should read this 14th article or editorial on federalism is the answer from The Guardian. Of course, The Guardian is known for some very superb editorials. Okay, moving on to other developments on The Guardian. Akeredolu Makinde meet Buhari, get nod to tackle criminals. Sultan urges federal government to clear misconceptions about COVID-19. Respond to calls for restructuring, showing cartels National Assembly. And in red, Osibajo to attend the Guardian book launch. Yeah. Okay, and then you have underneath that, COVID-19 defaulters risk jail as Buhari signs regulation. Of course, Adeswa did tell you that it is now a criminal offense for you to move around parts of Nigeria without wearing a face mask under the current second wave of the pandemic. All right, so let's go to the main headline on The Guardian this morning. Let's see it. It's very interesting. The main headline on The Guardian, just beneath that picture of Mr. President, flanked by his new service chiefs. Seriously looking like a commander-in-chief, And there's the headline, why FG's planned asset sale can't boost revenue. Why FG's planned asset sale can't boost revenues. Got two riders underneath. Professionals want asset valued before sale. That's sale and concession. Not adhering to procurement law is illegal, says Wike, that's the governor of Rivers State, South Nigeria. And then the third rider says it is against physical responsibility to sell capital assets for recurrent purposes. That's, I think that should be one story that most Nigerians should be interested in getting the details. So grab yourself a copy of The Guardian this morning and just feast on the information.
Okay. The last daily we're going to be looking at this morning is the Sun newspaper. That's the Daily Sun. And I'm going to start with the very, very obvious headline this morning. It's still on the issue of the service chiefs and insecurity. It says, new service chiefs vow to end insecurity. And then gets Buhari's marching orders, state of emergency. That's from the presidency. And then the service chief says, we are in. Okay, and I'm going to go to the other very gaping headlines. It says Makinde Oni meets Buhari on Southwest security, canvass more deployment of mobile policemen squadrons to Oyo. And then just beside the Daily Sun on the right hand side, Olu Mayhem will resist making Igbo victim of circumstance. That's coming from Ohaneze. And then this very not so obvious headline says shortage of passports. Nigerians in Italy cry out, seek National Assembly intervention. And we've reached millions of Nigerians through our cash transfer program. That's coming from Minister. 45 military officers submit retirement letters. Igboho, Masab fires IGP, says no group owns Nigeria. And then Governor Bello gets Bill Gates backing on prioritization of healthcare infrastructure. And the rider under that says, as UN commends governor for promoting women inclusion in government. That's talking about Yahaya Bello of Kogi State. He has been very vocal about, hey, let's look inwards, like you always say. We don't have to look for external support for our healthcare system, all of that. We can do it here if we invest, money into. I think he was saying something about 10 million or 10 billion.
Well, he said that rather than investing close to 500 billion naira on acquiring vaccines, that if government deliberately expends 10 billion naira, it will result in having about 54 world-class, well-equipped health facilities across the country that will be able to deal with virtually any deadly disease.
Yes.
It makes a whole lot of sense.
It does, actually.
All right, so those are the papers this morning. If any of those dailies caught your fancy, tickled your interest, well, you either should lay your hands on one of them by buying any of the dailies, or just go online and feed yourself with all the information. The Guardian looking very interesting in this morning, and of course the Punch, if you ask me. Unfortunately, no business day.
That one.
Not complete, right? Okay, so it's time for our big story on The Conversation. right, thanks for staying with us. And if you just joined us, you've missed quite a bit. But again, you're lucky because we're now getting to the meat of the show. It's our big story. And what is the big story? It is that story that's been trending in the last 24 to 48 hours. And it is about the new service chiefs.
Yes, yeah.
Of course, if you followed us throughout most of the headlines that we read across the national dailies, it was a recurrent decimal.
Yes.
The fact that Mr. President did not go through quote unquote proper channels to seek approval before appointing his new service chiefs. So today, the stakes are high as far for the new service chiefs. They're stepping into real big shoes to surmount the many security challenges currently facing the country. Now, the new service chiefs appointed by President Muhammadu Buhari on Tuesday are in for tough and rough ride to secure a country bedeviled by a mishmash of internal security challenges, long-drawn insurgency, raging banditry, secessionist threats, and rising cases of kidnap all across the nation. Now, the presidency pulled a surprise on Tuesday afternoon when it suddenly announced the resignation of the former 4 service chiefs, citing many reasons. Experts said the service chiefs could have resigned, insisting the president must have asked them to do so. Now, President Buhari had for a long time ignored calls by citizens and key stakeholders, including the National Assembly, to sack the service chiefs. Experts believe that the new helmsmen may not be messiahs with magic wands, but Nigerians expect more than the usual from them in addressing the myriad of insecurity issues across the country. Now, as usual, it's gradually becoming a tradition on the show. We don't do this alone.
Exactly.
We have joining us to look at the new service chiefs and, of course, tackling the subject of insecurity is Mayowa Tijani, Business Development Editor for The Cable. The Cable is an online newspaper. Mayowa, good morning. It's nice to have you join us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. I trust you are staying safe and all is well with you.
Yeah, I'm fine.
All right, Mayowa, let's get into it. What's your reaction to Tuesday's development? The presidency announcing the resignation of the former service chiefs and almost simultaneously also announcing the new service chiefs. And of course, I'm sure you've seen the front pages of newspapers across the country this morning saying that there are several sections that are accusing Mr. President of not going through due process by getting the approval of the National Assembly before announcing his new service chiefs. What's your reaction to all of this?
I have mixed feelings basically about the whole thing. I personally believe that the government has taken a decision, however late. Nigerians are quite excited about it, and of course that's also how I feel. But I also have this opinion, looking at the profiles and looking at what I know about some of the officers appointed. I think that the president is doing this, one, a little too late, and then two, they have little or no time on their service records, such that in no time we'll be needing new service chiefs.
Okay, Mayowa, now let's break it down. Are you suggesting that based on the track record, if I may use that phrase, of these current service chiefs, they lack the capacity or the ability to be able to deliver the kind of results that both Mr. President and Nigerians expect? Is that what you're saying?
Not exactly.
Okay, please.
Personally, I have a lot of faith in the some of the appointments,
Okay.
specifically the Chief of Defense Staff.
Okay.
In 2017, I went to Maiduguri to report some stories about the insurgency. I spoke to some members of the military. I spoke to some victims of Boko Haram attacks. And at the time, it was clear that this particular Chief of Defense Staff was quite in charge of the war against Boko Haram. He was the one, as we know, who recovered Sambisa forest, and of course brought down the flag of the Boko Haram at the time. So he's someone that, in fact, in my newsroom, we call him Boko Haram's nemesis. But my feeling about it was that he should have been made the Chief of Army Staff.
Army Staff and not Defense Staff.
Not the Chief of Defense Staff, yes.
Okay.
Okay, quick one. You did mention earlier that you feel as though this reappointment is coming a little too late, right? And because we know that over time, Nigerians have called for the sacking of the service chief that resigned 2 days ago, and it feels as though the president wasn't listening, and then all of a sudden we're having them resigning and then, you know, new service chiefs appointed. So do you think that their reappointment at this time, because you know the state of insecurity in Nigeria is, it has skyrocketed in the last few months. Do you think reappointing them now is going to be of any help, or is going to change anything as far as the issue of insecurity in the country is concerned?
I think it's going to change some things, because of course these newly appointed persons are going to try to exert themselves on the system.
Okay.
They are going to work within their own networks. They are going to work with their own soldiers. Of course, as we have seen in some of the videos on social media, the morals of the officers are now high, and they are willing to even give more to this battle. And of course, having worked with the Chief of Defense Staff, Lucky Rabo, we see that many of these officers are particularly excited because of the kind of system with which he led the team when he was working with the Operation Lafia Dole.
Okay.
I know for sure that he was always, from time to time, going with the troops to the battlefield, which of course is not something that is expected of a general of his rank. They are expected to stay in the offices, give the commands, tell what to do and all that, but that was not his own style. And of course, as a result of that, the people loved him. The soldiers would always want to go to fight, knowing that he's with them. If he's ready to lay his life down, to die in the process, then we too are willing to give it our all. So I feel like all of that is going to influence the rank and file of the military officers, and we are going to get results in the immediate term.
Okay.
However, if you look at the selection, you will find out that some of them are from regular, for example, the Chief of Naval Staff is from the regular course 36. If you look at the Chief of Defense Staff is from regular course 34. And the Chief of Army and Chief of Air Staff are from regular course 35. So first things to note here is that they are not from the same course. And of course, understanding the way the military hierarchy works, if you have people within your own course, there's this sort of loyalty. This was someone who was with you when you were nobody, when you guys were starting at the base of it. So there's that kind of spirit that helps them to work in unity when they get to the top. But seeing this kind of appointments, we see that there's quite some difference here and there. So it would also affect the way things go in the long term.
Okay, Maiwa, I'm so glad you talked about the new Chief of Defense Staff, the fact that he has the canning ability to boost the morale of the rank and file as far as the men are concerned. Was that what was missing as far as the former service chiefs were concerned, that they didn't show the leadership that was required for the men to be able to see, a general in the front line leading the battle, becoming a field commander, as it were?
Okay, so the way this works is that, and of course, this is how it works across every sphere of life, is that people aspire to the top. People aspire to be chief of army staff, chief of staff, chief of all that. So when you have that aspiration, and then some service chiefs are appointed,
Yeah.
and they are kept in office past their time, it affects your aspiration. So, for example, I understand that Major General Tukur Buratai was
Buratai.
there for 66 months.
Yeah.
That's the longest in Nigeria's history.
Yeah.
And for that long, we could have had like 2, 3, 4 service chiefs, 2, 3, 4 chief of army staff. So a number of people who have aspired for 30, 35 years to that position have had to go out of the force without getting to that point, despite having all that is needed to actually stay in that position. So what that does is that the people who are loyal to those persons are now working, they would have to work against the interest of whoever has been there repeatedly for a long time, such that they affect the kind of result that that person is giving because they are not loyal to him. So that's one of the problems that we had with the protected appointment of these persons. And so we'll see that with these new officers, people can aspire again. People can say, oh, okay, it's not so bad. Maybe in the next 2 years, 3 years, another person who has shown the qualities needed for decades can actually become and lead the pack. You get? So that's one of the reasons that these things affect the kind of thinking and the attitude of soldiers to the way they deal with the battles that they have to face.
All right, Mayowa, I'm particularly curious because I know that in the military, your loyalty lies first to your command and to your team because commanders come and go, but to your team and your command, your unit, it's sacrosanct that you. So with the way you put it, do we have a military where loyalty is more to a particular individual rather than to the core?
Okay, so the way it works is that yes, you obey the line of command, the chain of command.
Yes.
But what happens is that at the end of it all, every military man is a human being first. And as human beings, we have our sentiments. And of course, one of the reasons why people are even loyal to a chain of command is because they trust the ability of that chain of command to keep moving. So I'm at the base of the chain of command today. I know that in the next 2 years, I'm in the middle. I know that in the next 10 years, I'm at the top. So that's why I'm loyal to that chain of command, such that when I get to the top, the people behind me can accord me the same respect. But in a situation where you might never get to the top as a result of some political influences, you would not put 100% loyalty to that chain of command.
All right. Well, Mayo, we really don't have time.
Actually, just one question before I let you go. I want to ask something because I know a few times I've heard Nigerians say they've lost faith in the military, especially for the military to protect us. So in 1 minute, if you were going to suggest what their first point or call of action should be, what would you say they should do as a first call for action?
Okay, I would say the first thing for the Chief of Army Staff is to ensure there's peace in Borno State. But there's peace in the northeast. They can flush Boko Haram. That's one. Then about the bandits, of course, we know that this is one of the problems that is emerging in the northwest region. So if we can also deal with that decisively within, say, 40 days, and then we can see results. Nigerians can, at this point, Nigerians trust that, oh, something different is about to happen. So if we can leverage on the first 40 days and make something happen, then the trust that Nigerians have in the security apparatus would return gradually. It's not a day's job, but it would begin at this point.
All right. Thank you so much, Mayowa, for making out time to be with us. We will call on you as we continue to analyze and critically follow developments as it relates to the new service chiefs.
Yes.
Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we've been talking to Mayowa Tijani, Business and Development Editor at The Cable, and of course he did give quite some insight into what to look forward to and what has led up to this development as far as the new service chiefs are concerned. All right, we'll take a quick breather, and when we come back, Adeswa will be taking us on what's trending, and you'll be surprised what's trending right now on social media.
Welcome to my favorite segment of the conversation, where I take you through what is trending on social media across, the country. And, the issue of the COVID-19 issue, it has been trending of late, the second wave.
Yeah.
And a lot of, it has garnered a lot of reactions from different people from different facets of life, including business owners and CEOs wanting to help. And one of those persons is Bill Gates. Bill Gates is very interested in Africa. He's always been interested in Africa, and this time he's talking about vaccinations and Africa's healthcare system and how we can harness that, to counter the second wave of COVID-19. And then, so thanks to the conservative push to minimize the effects of the pandemic, Gates became a frequent target for Fox News. Gates appeared on Ari Melba's MSNBC show on Wednesday and responded to the frequent criticism, which has sparked a number of reactions online. We have a video to that effect.
Contact tracing was incredibly beneficial in places like South Korea. And, we'd have hundreds of thousands of people alive today in the U.S. if we had done that. The data, you don't actually have to give up your personal data. That's not a fair way of describing it. Some societies really chose to make that work. Sadly, because of our mistakes in diagnostics, our numbers got so large that even the states that made an effort, the benefits of the contact tracing wasn't gigantic. So it's really as you get down in, lower infection rates, like 3-4%, then the contact tracing helps drive that down even lower.
Now, that video you just saw garnered lots of reaction from Twitter NG, that's Nigerians on Twitter, and I'm going to take some of those tweets. This one at Catherine_Wade says, Bill Gates does not care about Nigerians. He's fomenting COVID-19 denial among Nigerians so that people relax precautions and infections rise. Be skeptical of vaccines, but also know that infection rates and deaths are low due to the effort of Nigerian scientists to control it. And then still the same Catherine_Wade says, oh, I took that one. And then this at Efoji says, Bill Gates. So this is like a conversation between Bill Gates and Nigerians. Bill Gates, you should get the vaccines. Nigerians, no, we reject it in Jesus' name. Bill Gates, okay, fix your healthcare system then. Leave the vaccines. Nigerians, no, you don't want us to survive, Abi. We need the vaccines. That's quite interesting. And then this at Necker Smith. If only Bill Gates had a clue that Nigerian government officials will cash out on COVID-19 vaccines, Baba for no bother, they give advice. We have chronic pilfers all over the place. Not one PHC has, that's primary healthcare system, has received an extra addition since 2020. We are building rails to Maradi, Ndara. And I'm Jay Williams says, why don't y'all ever come for Bill Gates the way y'all come for Elon and Jeff Bezos? Like he ain't the third richest in the world. Now, what is your reaction to this? Because I know that Bill Gates has, steadily been interested in Nigeria's healthcare system. Well, the Bill Gates Foundation and having to, because I know you have a reservation. I've been looking at your expression the whole time, and I know you have a reservation about it, and that's why I'm asking you. How do you feel about this?
I'm a natural conspiracy theorist.
Exactly.
My brain works differently from. So that's why I say I'm highly misunderstood, but I'm used to it. Okay. Now, Bill Gates is a billionaire.
Exactly.
The guy can't stop making money, and the next biggest jackpot is Africa. He said it. The world knows it. We have the youngest population in the world. We are again the new frontier. I mean, think about it. Go through history. We've been looted, polluted, you just think about it, and we're still standing. And now here is a virus that some people had hoped finally, something that would wipe them out. And then look at the numbers. Africa stunningly has survived. And then look at, all the rich nations of the world have the vaccines. Africans are scrambling to find the vaccine. So what do? You look at the numbers. Bill Gates is simply looking at the numbers. He's doing the figures. The cheapest vaccine is about $3,
Yes.
And then imagine a country of 200 million people where the government is already willing to invest between 400 to 500 billion naira, all in a bid to get vaccines. And then don't forget, we've got a record, we've got tradition. Like someone said, we're pilferers, we're looters. 70 to 80% of that vaccine will not get to Nigerians.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's why, in as much as I agree with what Governor Yahya Bello says, that look, you don't need that much money. Just put a tenth. 10 billion is just a tenth of 500 billion naira, and just see the result. Over 50 state-of-the-art healthcare facilities that won't just deliver healthcare, but will be able to deliver care to the point of being able to give cure to probably some of the most deadly diseases. Now, let's ask ourselves a question. What's the number one killer in Africa? Malaria. And guess what? We've got what would the cure for malaria? Simple. Dongoyaro.
If you don't know, what's the English name for dongoyaro again?
Okay, those that went to school, I went to night school. Dongoyaro, it's a root, it's a tree stump.
Yeah.
Some people chew it as a chewing stick.
Yeah.
But it's got potent. It's proven.
I know.
Most people would rather chop it up, boil it, drink the water, and it does wonders.
In less than 5 minutes.
Organic.
Yes.
Natural.
You're feeling very okay. All right.
So just imagine, I said it before,
Yeah.
if Africa gets it right, the pharmaceutical company across the world will go bankrupt. And they don't want that to happen. So.
Okay, thank you so much. I always enjoy picking your brain. Makes me feel really good.
Okay, it's time for me to wear a hat.
Thank you so much for joining the show this morning. Do not forget to follow us across all social media platforms at TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And check out our website too for more stories on www.tostvnetwork.com. And also, as Mr. John always says, if you don't catch the show right now, you can always, catch up on YouTube. It's TOS TV Network on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you so much again for joining the show. I am Adesu Osui.
And I am Kamian John.
freedom to lead